Hi there. My name is Michelle Nicolo Prentice, and you're listening to Mama's Lullaby podcast, where we celebrate you and your journey to and through motherhood, the good, the hard, and the scary, giving you a place to be nurtured and mothered. You deserve it. Welcome. Hey guys, it's Michelle. Please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so we can keep you up to date on all the latest podcasts. Hi there, I am Michelle Nicolo Prentice, and welcome to my kitchen, my house. Welcome to Mama's Lullaby podcast. I am here with my friends, the beautiful Celeste Krenz and the amazing, beautiful BJ Jennings, Kevin Jennings, who is my adopted son. And we're going to have a conversation today about a song that Celeste and I wrote for this project. It's one of my favorite songs on the whole project. It's called My Rockabye Baby. And I really am excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, well, Mom, thanks for letting me hang out with the two of you.
Yeah.
And so I remember it was the exact same table. It was us and a few others.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
like, what, this point,
That's right.
almost 3 years ago.
Probably 3 years ago,
Almost,
yeah.
but actually more than that because that was pandemic. So
Oh
I think
my God.
more
Fast.
than 3 years
was.
ago
Wow.
when that conversation started. And so it's really cool to come full circle with both of you. And for you who might be watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, I want to welcome you again to Mama's Lullaby podcast. Now, we have two goals for you. One is to help you celebrate the journey of motherhood and recognize that your journey might be different than these amazing women in their journey, but every journey is worth being celebrated and acknowledged. And so you get to hear different stories, you get to hear journeys about someone else. The second thing, though, is we want to make sure you have a place to feel nurtured and mothered as a mother. That we understand that when you have lots of littles or maybe young adults pulling on you, you don't always get the place to put your shoulders down and feel like someone wants to put their arm around you. And hopefully through amazing women that you'll be hearing from today, you have a chance to feel that energy. So you might be saying, so why are you hosting them? And I would say it's because they said, who knows the least about motherhood, whose questions will be genuine, and I came to mind. And so I get to serve here a little bit and bring my ignorance as an asset.
Yes.
And just ask you two questions about your journeys. And so that's it. Other than that, I just love moms. I think moms are awesome. Yeah. And so I kind of get to, be a little cheerleader today. And so with that being said, why don't we talk about how you met Celeste?
Okay.
That's important. And then we would like you to brag on yourself a bit and all the amazing things you've done beyond creating humans. Yeah. And then we'll bring it back to that part of the conversation.
Yes. I met Celeste in a theater. I was performing, I think. Mm-hmm. And what was so funny, I met her, she was dating this friend of mine who was a director who I worked with before, Bill Fahili. And then I'm like, oh, you're dating Bill. I didn't know he had a girlfriend. But before
and
that.
I said, you know Bill? Is he nice? I like him.
Apparently so. And Mark had recorded on a project of hers, I don't know, several years back. And he came home. I remember him coming home saying, you got to hear this woman. You will love her voice. Because I'm really picky.
I'm picky too.
Yeah. And when I heard her voice, I was like, OMG.
And the first time I heard Michelle sing, I was just like, I got to know that lady. I walked up and introduced myself.
Oh, yeah. So we became friends, and we were friends. We've been friends for a while. And then when this project came to me, I was given names. Like I say this on my podcast a lot, but I feel like God gave me the name of who to call. So he gave me Celeste's name, and I wanted to write a song about kind of the first time you see your baby. And so that's what we wrote about. But before we go into that, tell our friends a little bit about you and your career and before you had a baby and what was your life like, and then we'll talk about after the baby.
Well, I grew up in North Dakota, and so there weren't a lot of people doing what I wanted to do, which was to make music. And I started playing guitar when I was around 7, 8. I would sneak my sister's guitar out of the closet. And then eventually moved to Denver, went to school in North Dakota, and then moved to Denver, started playing out. and recorded 3 albums, one of which got up to number 11 on the Gavin Americana chart, which was kind of cool. And then just continued to tour for maybe 25 years. And I had told that I could not have a baby.
Oh,
And all of a sudden I had these like weird stuff going on. I thought I had cancer.
Oh, gosh.
So I went to the gynecologist and they said, "Oh, you're 8 weeks pregnant." And I was
Wow.
like, "Okay." And I remember them asking me like, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "I'm married." What kind of an answer is that? But so it was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared on any level. I thought I would be the famous, like, not famous, but like fancy aunt,
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
of a sudden I'm having this baby. So it was a different experience for me. But anyway, I was like, I'm not going to quit touring. I had a gig booked in 6 weeks at a festival. I'm like, I'm going to just take them along. I mean, how hard can that be? Of course, I canceled for a while. But yeah, it's just like touring and being an artist and having a baby. And it was one of the most rooting things that ever happened to me, and in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. I could understand that.
Well, first of all, there is like a whole movement right now amongst my generation. They call themselves rich aunties. That's the goal. Like, we just want to be rich aunties. We want to be able to take the kids, spoil them, and send them back.
Yeah.
That was actually my aspiration.
Was it?
I want to be the coolest uncle in the world. I have 2 kids, and I still want to be a cool uncle, but it has changed the plan.
Yeah, it
quite a
definitely
bit.
changes the plan.
Yeah, that's right.
It does.
Well, tell us a bit about the song, and I mean, we talked about what you wanted to capture. So maybe we can either zero in on some lyrics. You can sing a little bit if you need to, refresh your own memory a bit.
Yeah.
But take us into the lyrics, and we'll pause and allow both of you to kind of expound upon your own experiences in those moments.
Okay. Yeah. So we're talking about, the first moment you see the baby. Now, I also understand that not every woman has this experience. And if you didn't have this experience, this is no judgment. I just want you to know that. I think it's really easy to be judged, to feel judged, to judge each other. And I really want to kind of promote the stopping of judging each other. And let's just meet each other where we are. But
Well, which is what I think is cool about this song, because when I got together with you to write, I said, I was sort of a reluctant mother. Even though I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I was like, I just got a record deal. Now I've just got this manager in Nashville, and I am going to this is going to, I was determined, this baby is not going to slow me down. And so I went into it with not I haven't always wanted to be mother. I was 37. I was just like, what the heck do I know about babies other than, I just didn't. So it was, that's what I came to this, the first time I saw this baby, I was like, this has got to be a trick. How could I love this thing so much? And I don't even know him, so
Yeah.
it was interesting.
and that is our first line. Our first line is, who knew how much I could love you from the first instant that I saw you, and I held you and I touched you, and I knew I'd always loved you. And it's just it is, I get chills.
Me too.
It is that thing sometimes, not always, because not everybody feels that way about their child right off the bat for many reasons. But I wanted to write sort of that moment. For me, the first time I saw Gabby, I had to have C-section with her. And so they lifted her up over the what's that thing called? The drape, yeah. And I'll never forget seeing her and that feeling. And so that's really where we started with this song, and then the chorus is, and you rocked me and I rocked you, right? And we were talking about how it rocks your world. The moment you see this being that you've been carrying, it rocks your world.
Yeah.
And now you're rocking the baby. So it's kind of a little play on words, but I love this song so much.
I do too. And I think it does sort of hit on the idea of, how amazing it is to I always used to tell Sam, we made you from scratch.
Yeah, from
So,
scratch. Yeah. First ingredient was love. I mean, and that's not always the first ingredient when you make a baby either. But if you get the opportunity to be in love with somebody that you have a baby with, that's a pretty nice thing too.
So I think when for those who are talking about holding their baby or seeing their baby for the first time, again, whether it be biologically, after an adoption, etc.
Yeah.
The opening lyrics really kind of speak to you discovering a certain level of love within yourself you did not know was possible.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious to hear you to kind of expound upon, in a fun way maybe, what you thought love was before you experienced the love of your child. Like maybe what, I mean, to the best of your ability, what would young Michelle, young Celeste, what would they have said to themselves about what they thought love was prior to that? And then maybe if you want to, if you have better other words, like how you might have tried to explain love after, like, oh man, I thought love was this is this. Mm-hmm. For me.
You want to go first?
Me first? Mm-hmm. Well, I love what you just said, because I think I've never been able to explain it to myself. I'm just like, oh, well, I don't know. But you just said you discovered love that you didn't know was in you. Because the ability to like just share, like, you just like someone sharing with this new soul in the world. And I think before, I thought love was taking care of people, listening to people, missing people, all the things that we do with the people that we love. But when you have this baby, it's like a piece of you has broken off and it's in the world now on its own. And you're just connected in a way. And even I think if it's not your own, if it's not, if it's an adoption, or if it's like you take someone in under your roof. My parents had a few kids that were cousins and were different relations where they came and they were part of our family. I know you have a lot of people in your life like that too. And I felt that with them too, but I think it's just about how you can connect and how you can look in those eyes and know that baby or that child is with you, and that you have I don't know if it's responsibility. I guess part of it is responsibility. That's a really good question. I would have to think about that for a week before I could give you a really good answer.
No, I know,
but it's amazing. Like I can't remember my life before I had a baby.
Yeah.
And I think that happens. Like when I had him, I was like, "What did I used to do? I don't even know."
It's true.
Yeah.
It is true. You do kind of forget. I think the thing that was so big for me was when people say your life is going to change. Once you have a baby, your whole life is going to change. Well, and I would think, yeah, of course your life's going to change. You're going to have a baby. You're going to have to take care of this baby. But what that really turned out to be for me is that you are never alone in your mind again.
Okay, there you go.
You are always, that kid is always in the background of your mind, no matter how old they are, no matter, where you were, what you're doing, you're never free in your mind again of that. You're always going to be thinking about them, concerned for them, loving them, whatever.
This is a question I'm not going to ask us to answer, but hearing you speak, I'm like, do men experience that? Like,
I'm curious. Do you experience that feeling of not ever being alone in your mind anymore?
Well, I will definitely not be speaking for all men, but I will speak for myself when I say this. That to me has been something that is learned. Like, I think that I know people hear the phrase, if you Google it, like mental load of motherhood, but to me, I think the mental load of motherhood from observations really speaks a lot more to that. I think in a really cool way. It can be overwhelming, but it's also this, I am connected to this individual where their presence, even if it's not codependency, there's a presence where I feel them in a way that feels like a part of me is doing something out there in the world. And I think for me as a dad, it's taking, I've had to almost practice assuming the full weight of it all to even notice just how much is going on around me. I am very much like, this on the list. The child needs this. I did this for the child. Right? And I'm just trying to keep a list. But like, but there are moments where I experience my children outside of myself, but it feels like, and it's really cool. Then it kind of goes away. It's almost like almost like you tap into superpower that women have all the time. You're like, is this what it's like? Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so cool. And then it goes like, oh man, I lost it, But yeah, but hearing you all talk, that's really powerful. How has that, or has it, this awareness of love at a deeper level, has it even made you see love with other relationships differently? Like almost like, if I'm capable of this here, there's a deeper level of love I'm capable of offering other places. You're like, no, from my experience, that's a pretty exclusive thing to your kids. No offense to our producer, Mark, who's your husband watching this entire conversation. So I'm not saying who you love more. I'm talking about like just how you experience love in other relationships and how you evaluate your connection. And has that evolved at all?
I think it has in my mind. And I would like to say like, yes, my heart is there in that way for everyone, but it's not.
Sure.
Because I think that would kill you. I think you would be dead.
I love everybody so much.
Yeah, I think I try to always be sympathetic and empathetic, and I try to open and listening to every child or old person or I am becoming an old person, and a lot of my friends now are like, having the old people problems, and I don't know. It's just like I have huge empathy, I think, but I do think that there's a special place for the people that are within our reach, who we are responsible for.
Yeah.
And I think it just becomes like a beautiful, I don't want to say burden, but a beautiful weight that keeps you tethered down. And I don't think that is possible.
It's fascinating.
Maybe Mother Teresa did it.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating.
But she didn't have kids.
That's true. She did not have kids.
That's fascinating.
And that's different. I feel like for me, becoming a mom has definitely made me, well, actually, as I've gotten older, not when I was younger, but now that I'm older,
It is changing.
I have definitely more, when I see kids and young people, from a mother's viewpoint, if they don't like kids that come here from other states and they're trying to have a career or whatever, and I think, oh my gosh, if my kids were somewhere else, I would want someone to take them in and treat them like family. And so I would do that with kids. And I felt that with you. You lived here and everything, but like when you were young and you come here, I just felt a mothering of you from the get-go. And so I feel like being a mom has made that more present in me. And also from the mother side, I think about the parents of the children who are far away, how they feel not having their children there and hoping that somebody will take them in and love them.
Yeah.
And, when there's holidays or whatever, come to their house and treat them like family. Because, for me, I think what's most important to me is that people feel loved and welcomed and comfortable in my presence and in my home. That's really important to me.
And that they're seen and heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still don't think we have that thing at night when you wake up at 3 in the
Oh,
morning,
yeah,
you
no.
take a glass of water and you go,
I'm not thinking about everybody.
I went to Sam's home and,
Yeah.
right before this podcast started, my kid texted me. He's in Boston on the side of the road. His alternator went out. But it was so cool because he's like, I've got it handled. AAA's on its way.
Yeah.
Here's the bill. Okay. But, when I go to sleep at night, I'm thinking about that kid.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about all the kids that I love. I mean,
Totally.
I have little children that are in my life, and
Yeah.
I wasn't worrying about them because their parents are going to.
Right.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't have parents. Then I
Yeah.
would probably worry more. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's so complicated.
It's again
No.
very
Crap.
complicated. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, first of all, thank you both for sharing. I think, again, this podcast, our hope is just to give us a place where you get you to explore these thoughts, a little bit as well. With the course, and it's, I rock you, you rock me, right?
Yeah.
So I want to actually, I want to zone in for a second on your world being rocked a bit, right? You two have raised adult humans now, so there's a little bit of hopefully it's a little less rocky than it used to be, right? But I love to kind of go back to those early seasons, obviously for you, Celeste, thinking about in your world, both worlds are rocked, but I'm thinking about, you said, I just got a record deal, so take us back to those early days of kind of you being rocked, and maybe externally, but maybe internally, looking back on that, what was rocked, and then do you how would you want to encourage the old Celeste to respond to the rocking? Right? It's like,
Well, I think what was interesting is that what I thought was important, like 24 hours before I had this child, and what I thought was important 24 hours after I had this child,
Yes.
I couldn't remember where the line was. And I was just like, it wasn't as much of a shock or even a decision, because my priorities had just morphed. And I don't even want
Yeah.
to say changed or flipped. I just want to say they just went somewhere else. And so
That's true.
I still wanted to play music, and I still had obligations, but I thought we can make this work. I found someone to travel with us, and actually, a couple of times I played theaters, and he would be sleeping in the guitar case backstage with Nancy, watching him in his little jammies, and he loved it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so after 2 years of traveling with him, I just don't think I felt it rocked my world in the way that I'm so glad I didn't miss having this baby.
Yeah.
yeah,
And just that I didn't have that part of the world that amount of love just cracked me open in a way that I don't think I would have had without it.
yeah. But you, Mom.
Well, because I was so young, being 18 when I had Gabby, I got married. I just did a lot of things in a really short period of time. I had, learned that I got a full 4-year scholarship to University of Utah and all that stuff, and then got married, and everyone's like, "You're going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin your life." And I never could understand that, really. Like, you're going to ruin your life because you choose to have a baby. Makes some things more difficult, for sure, timing wise. But I think it wasn't really, I don't know, it's because I was so young, it didn't rock me. And I got Bell's palsy when I was pregnant with her, which means the side of my face was paralyzed for like 5 or 6 months until I went to acupuncture, and then it came back. I thought I'd never sing again.
Wow.
And that was rocking. The things that happened to me, like the things that were rocking to me were having to have a C-section. That was rocking. That rocked my world. Having my face paralyzed, that rocked my world. But having Gabby, that just felt real natural to me. And I just took her with me everywhere, to all my voice lessons, to all that stuff. That wasn't really, but like physical things that happened to me during the pregnancy, that was kind of weird. Those things were a little bit jarring.
Yeah. I'm sure you two have encountered plenty of other moms on their journey who feel rocked in ways that may, for them, seem unsurmountable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not going to be.
It's not easy. I mean, like, being a parent is probably being a parent is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, because everything that's tied to it, making money, taking care of things, keeping a place, keeping a balance, keeping harmony, keeping sleep habits. I mean, that's all hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
It's a lot.
for
It's a lot.
being a musician, I mean, we just kind of like, oh,
Well, I think that what I notice with a lot of women who have children after they've had a life, right? If you've already had your life, I didn't have a life yet.
Sure.
If you've already had a life, had freedom, what I find is where it gets difficult and frustrating is when they try to stay in their old life patterns with the baby in a new life. It's like you have to let the old life go for a while, because in certain scenarios, because you can't live and do what you were doing before and have this baby. You have to change, and you have to accept that for a while. It doesn't last forever. But when I see girls really try to keep their old life, they are very frustrated moms, because it's very frustrating to try and, like, how am I going to do all this stuff? How can I'm so tired. I can't. Well, there's a season for things sometimes. And I think that's something to remember as well. And don't try and keep your old life exactly as it was. It's almost impossible.
it is. And I think you just have to be really selfless. And a lot of times that's hard to give up, because you're busy and you're doing things and you want to get it done, and you either have and I'm just talking about even when you're young, like, if I'd had a baby when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, what, you mean I can't go out every Saturday night?
Yeah. Yeah.
I I just think that that's a whole, I mean, you how old were you?
I was 17 when I got pregnant, 18, but I wasn't a partier, so I didn't go out anyway. It wasn't any big
But
deal.
one thing I heard you say that really hit me as a way to phrase it, you said, my priorities didn't just change, they morphed. And I think that, well, I think about morph, I think about evolution and transformation. And I think we take that with what you just said, Mom, that I'm trying to keep the same priorities in, social life, friendships, maybe the exact same way, versus allowing what's happening to truly morph. Doesn't mean I lose friends. Doesn't mean I don't have friends anymore. It just means how I prioritized the spending of time or the use of my time with those friends. It's like, so the question was like, if I'm allowing myself to morph, maybe things feel a little different. But I mean, you kind of some great encouragement already. But if there is a mom who's watching or listening who does feel like, man, I wish I felt as at peace as these two women were in their journey. Yes, frustrations, but like they clearly embraced it fully when it came, but I'm struggling.
I wouldn't say I embraced it fully.
Oh, good.
No, I mean, but I did because I think there's this awesome book, and I was just trying to get in my brain what the author's name was, but it's called Operating Instructions. That book is so funny and so real, and it's a single mom, and she has this colicky baby, and during the pregnancy she gets acne, and she's a writer, and she's trying to write her novel, and she has this baby, and she has a lot of friends. And half of the time she's saying, well, he's been crying. She's journaling the whole time. He's been crying for 6 hours. Maybe I'll just wrap him up in a blanket and put him on the front porch, and someone will come get him and he'll have a better life than he does with me. And then she's just honest, and of course she never does. But then he falls asleep, and he's sleeping for 3 hours, and she's like, oh, I miss him so much. Yeah. But like nobody should ever feel like if you're not happy all the time when you have a baby that you're doing something wrong, because
oh gosh, no.
It's so hard. I mean, it's just like, and it's emotional, and you get tired. I know, I mean, you just like get through it.
Yeah.
And hopefully you do have friends, so when you're ready, when you're very frustrated, you have someone who can help you.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing, is if you don't have a support system. I mean, I know we can't go and help you and take care of your baby so you can take a nap, but I'm hoping that, through this podcast and through the music, maybe you can put the baby in the crib and take 5 minutes and do one of the meditations or listen to one of the songs and just breathe and just give yourself a break for a moment. Because you do have to kind of remember to take care of yourself emotionally and physically, and it's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
Is what you two just described, is that pretty much true for the rest of the journey too, of motherhood? Or I mean, it's like you said, because you said, well, if you're not always happy, doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. You're gonna find a way to find some help, take a moment to yourself. Is that pretty much like the rest of the journey with teenagers and middle schoolers, and like take a moment to ask for help, get a moment to yourself, take a break, don't judge yourself for not being happy all the time, or does it change over time in a way?
You're first.
Every stage is different, but I think it's similar to a certain degree. It's just different issues. So in teenagehood years, I think if I were to do it again, I would be more present with them in different ways than I was.
I agree.
I would not have been on my phone when I got them in the car for school, when I picked them up from school. I would have been present with them then instead of working. So I was working at a network marketing business at the time, and I was always on the phone with my.
But your priority, you had to make money.
Well,
I mean,
but I could have.
It's like, I think that too, but I'm like, then we wouldn't have had a place to live or food to eat.
Well,
right?
I wasn't the head of my household. He took care of us financially so much. I was trying to make money with that business, but
I get that.
I think that I would have prioritized my time with them more and asked them more questions. But I didn't. You don't know what you don't know.
I know.
So just realize this, you guys. You don't know what you don't know. and you're going to do the best you can with what you have, with what you know. And as you know better, you will do better. So you're going to have a lot of grace for yourself as your kids grow up and they start blaming you for the things that you did wrong, because they will, and you do the best you can, and don't beat yourself up. I have beaten myself up a lot, but I'm learning to, they always knew they were loved, and that was important to me. So they always knew they were loved, but they didn't always feel like I was a great mom. And, maybe I wasn't, but I did the best I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could name one kid that thinks their mom was a great, perfect mom, but I agree. Like, it's just like the things you could have done, the things I could have done better were to listen more, to take more playtime, to like, listen better. My son at 17 started doing, he has health problems, and the doctor started giving him Xanax at a drug addiction. And that was horrible because it started years before, but I didn't want to see, I'm like, it's just teenager stuff. Ended up in treatment for 6 months. And at 18 and a half or 19, he got out. He's doing great. He's 23 now. And he learned so much during this treatment. He went to a place where they worked on underlying conditions, stress, but that's hard. I mean, oh my gosh, the week that we knew we were going to have an intervention, I couldn't drive my car. I found myself on the wrong side of the street on Hillsborough Road, like, I shouldn't drive my car till this is over, because I was too stressed. Because you have to tell them, like, if you don't do this today, because maybe he was 18 when he went, if you don't do this today, you cannot come home. You can't come home. He had broken his foot during some little drug deal. Just being really honest here. This is the stuff moms go through.
This is life. And
I got my fingers on him, and I was like, he was so sick. He didn't have time. So we did it. But that was excruciating, because he could have just got up and walked out, and I probably wouldn't have seen him again.
Yeah.
But he went.
Yeah.
thank God.
In an episode of a podcast, we were talking to Stowe and Good, and Karen, and she was sharing an analogy that Stowe shared her about mama eagles and how they intentionally fluff a nest. But when the eggs are there, they put a lot of like things to pad the nest for the eggs, and then when the birds aren't paying attention, they sort of take the fluff out. And there are thorns that will eventually, as the birds are growing, poke them to try to intentionally poke and imply their own babies to fly out on their own. And Karen used a really good analogy. It's like, sometimes I want to sneak some fluff back in, so I need to take some fluff back out. We were talking about the art. I was talking about essentially the artistry of parenting too, right? That you had to make a judgment call of, this is a moment where essentially I'm removing all of the fluff. And this is a gamble to a certain extent, because I don't know if my baby eagle will attempt to fly, or will they sit there and be poked in a way that creates so much pain I can't do anything about. And when I hear you say that, I'm like, it just reminds me again of that, like, that's a really hard thing, but totally.
Well, the alternative is that they're going to sit in that nest and die.
Yeah.
Because and that's the thing, is it's either this chance or this death.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. So as parenting and teenage, there's so much stuff going on with social media and kids and depression and all of that. I don't know how, it takes a village to raise a kid. And so hopefully, for me, my advice, if I was just to give one piece of advice, I would say, start a little network of your friends and be there for each other, and try to join a group, I don't know. It's just like, you have to have someone to talk to, and the stakes are high. Like, there's this shame around some things like that, and there's shame around some of the things your kids do, but you have to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Talking sort of like is sunlight to, what is that phrase? Anyway, when you say it out loud, it kind of decreases
It does. It helps you get your head straight so that you can make good decisions as a mom, because basically that's what it is too. Like, I think one of the things when you start, when you have a baby and you look at that baby and you think, this baby's going to be a 200-pound man someday, or however tall, or a grown-up woman who, you have to, empower them. I think if I could do one thing differently, I would empower my child more when he was little instead of kind of like fluffing him.
Right. Yeah. It's so
I-
tricky.
yeah.
It's so tricky because you want them to have the best life, but sometimes powdering their butts too much is detrimental to them, and it's so tricky.
It's tricky, but I feel like where we've gone with this conversation is it's a little bit scary. Like you have to do everything right, but you're right. All you have to do is love them and listen to them.
And don't give up on them if you can help it.
Yeah.
Don't
No.
give up on them.
Yeah.
Just keep on and keep talking to them. Keep telling them you love them. Keep telling them you believe in them. Keep telling them they can do it. You know.
Well, and I hope for this, I hope those of you who are listening, you're actually hopefully getting a chance to recognize that successful parenting on the outside may feel and be different on the inside. That, these are two amazing moms, but how they're often probably measured by the fact that they have really great adult kids, but how they got there was a bit more winding and a lot less linear, right? And I think it's very easy to because obviously I get to know at least Michelle's kids, but I've had multiple interactions with you enough to say there's no way a person who's around you is not going to clearly feel your strength of character. And with that being said, you're going to probably say, I wish I could be more like them, right? But that's not, they're parenting another human. Yeah. You're not dealing with Celeste or Michelle. You're dealing with a person who has their own personality, their own everything. Right. And these two individuals are trying to navigate what that person needs to become their best person. And that is a very different experience. So I think you two actually, I appreciate your vulnerability more than anything else versus like, here's my checklist. Well, yeah, it's not that as hard. And sometimes it's not as hard. Doesn't mean I never had fun. It just means you said earlier, the stakes are high.
Yes.
And just because stakes are high doesn't mean you don't ever have fun, but it's just the stakes are high. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Kids make mistakes, parents make mistakes. All you have to do at the end of the day is say, we're here, we love each other, let's work through it.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's no disasters. I always think there's no disasters. I think of every mistake as tuition paid. It hurts.
Yeah.
You get through it.
Yeah.
And that's successful parenting is not giving up and hanging with your kid.
I agree.
Yeah, I love that.
And have some help, have some friends. And if you don't have any friends, that's what we're here for. I mean, I hope that you do, but some people don't have friends, I meet women all the time that are alone. They don't have family, they don't have any friends. It's just so heartbreaking. So I just encourage you, when you go to a park, talk to other moms. You make friends that way. I make friends just by saying hi. My name's Michelle. What's your name? And it's scary, but sometimes you might make the best friends of your life.
So as we wrap up, I wanted to give us a chance to maybe zero in on a few more lyrics from the song. Now, obviously, I know you two are also amazing vocalists, so no pressure to sing, but I am curious. Just want to have you zone in a few more lyrics, and I want to ask maybe one more question about it. So is there a section that comes to mind?
Well, how about the second verse? I think it goes like now I'm listening to your breathing, and the night birds are singing. I should be sleeping, but I can't stop thinking of how you rocked me, and I rock you. You're my rockabye baby, I love you. You rocked me, and I rock you. You're my rockabye baby, I love you. Yeah, I love that. You're listening to them breathe, you just watch them sleep, and then you can't sleep because you're just watching. It's just like,
No, it's magical.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for singing instead of saying lyrics. That's an extra treat for all of us. So thank you both.
Yeah.
What I love about this conversation, and then you can disagree with me or not, but is we talked about plenty of the complexities of parenthood and motherhood in particular. But then we kind of came back to the very magic that kind of that kind of really starts the journey, but it's always present, right? It's just you sometimes have to look for it. And sometimes in the earlier stages, it seems to be so much more prevalent because like you're just immersed in all the magic. So the question I want to close with is, what can some mothers do just to still find the magic amidst their journey? Maybe it's magic in some mess. Maybe it's, just purely a time of magic, but just something that you would want them to know that they can do to still find the magic.
I think what I do is I fast forward to my deathbed. It sounds weird, but I fast forward to my deathbed and I look back. Because in reality, when your time's up, you're going to look at your life and all the things you thought were so big and terrible, you're like, oh, that was just life. Like, so just like embracing life. And when you fast forward to, the end of your life, you appreciate things, even the hard stuff. It's still life. It's still, you get to live this experience. I don't know, that's kind of what I think.
What about you?
Well, I'm totally ditto. And I think that it's just like you look for those moments where you can get some quality time with your child or children. And that could be like, a birthday celebration or just something where you get to have one-on time with them, one-on-one time. Take them out for dinner, just without the dad or without the sisters or siblings, one-on-one time with your kids, so you get a little of that magic where you're just looking in their eyes. I think that's where you can kind of find each other again, because there's an age where kids just don't really look at you. I always feel like I could wear like a weird hat and my child, when he's a teenager, would be like, wouldn't notice, So to find that, I think is super important.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I love that. So what I hear from that is if we can find moments to either shift our perspective or regain perspective through connection, we have an opportunity to find magic amidst all of it.
I think also just quickly, I want to say the movie Click. Remember that movie Click? Watch that movie.
What? Have
you never seen Click?
I think I have.
Adam Sandler.
Okay, there it is. Yes.
Okay.
I was like, why do I know this?
Watch that movie, and that will help you because it's like you could take this path or you could take that path.
Yeah.
And he ended up taking the path that wasn't so great. And then I don't want to spoil anything, but then at the end of the movie, it's like he realized all the things he thought were so stressful and awful, he could just change it. And it was, I don't know. You should watch Click. It's good.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing too?
Please.
I think there's this incredible opportunity when you're sitting there with your kid and you're taking time with them and they might tell you something and every alarm goes off in your head and you want to give them a piece of advice or say, why did you do that, or fix it? And you just go, interesting. You got this. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Instead of giving them advice.
For sure.
Oh boy, I need to learn that one still.
Well,
there you go.
We're all still on our journey.
Yes, we are.
Well, what I want to do is I want to say thank you, Celeste.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. The song, beyond the song being beautiful, thank you for your time as well. And for those of you, actually, you got to hear a little preview of the song. You can actually go stream Rockabye Baby. You can listen to it on Apple Music or Spotify, or you can actually buy it and download it at mamaslullaby.com. And so we hope that if nothing else, it gives you a song that you maybe give you a place of peace and to relax, but also gives you some awesome music to just connect with where you are right now in your journey. And so with that being said, enjoy it, and then join us next time for another episode of the Mama's Lullaby podcast.
Yay. Thanks, guys. See you next time.